Hi, I'm John, author of the Cabin Owner's Manual and author of the book, The Business of Owning a Rental Cabin. There's a cabin that we worked on. The owners really loved this cabin. Came to the cabins. Someone had told them that this cabin made $56,000 a year. So they bought the cabin thinking that the cabin was going to make them $56,000 a year. And they thought, well, this will be fantastic because that'll be a good addition to our retirement plan. They ended up having some problems with the cabin. Talk to you just a little bit today about something I think you're gonna want to hear. The first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this cabin. There's a cabin that we worked on. Not gonna tell you the name, but the owners really loved this cabin. And when I say that, I mean, you know, they spent $250,000 on it originally. And it was a retirement, and they actually paid cash for it. And so they were planning on using it as a retreat for the family and as, you know, something that they were going to do with their family. And long story short, they ended up having some problems with the cabin. Just to be honest with you, they didn't really understand the difference between a cabin and a house. And so they bought this cabin. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they were not smart people. These people were very intelligent, very accomplished. Both of them were retired from professional positions. They were a joy to talk to. I absolutely loved spending time with them. They were great people. They were just a little misguided when it came to the cabins. Someone had told them that this cabin made $56,000 a year. And so they bought the cabin thinking that the cabin was going to make them $56,000 a year. And they thought, well, this will be fantastic because that'll be a good addition to our retirement plan. The cabin will, you know, we'll buy the cabin for $250,000 cash. And it will cash flow $56,000 a year, and will, you know, that's definitely something that we could do. Not to mention, we can also go ahead, you know, and enjoy it and spend time with our kids and our grandkids there, and we can have a great time, and, you know, everything will be fantastic. Well, they bought the cabin, and the first thing they did was they stained the cabin a solid color, which for most cabins is a mistake. Staining a cabin a solid color is just going to make the sun kill the stain even faster. Stain is typically, well, that's a whole nother story. We'll get into that later. So, you know, we'll go into that in the Cardinal Custom Lawn side. In case you guys don't know, we have another video channel, YouTube channel is Cardinal Custom Lawn, and that's where we talk about the maintenance, because I actually started working in the cabin industry doing maintenance, and so we learned how cabins work by working on them. So anyway, back to this cabin. They stained it. They did some upgrades, which were really nice, but over the next 2 years, the cabin just never produced like they thought it was going to produce. It did in the second year, and it ended up making about $56,000 gross, but it just does not make that as far as what you can actually keep. And see, that's where you have to understand that if you own a cabin, a rental cabin, okay, if you own a rental cabin, you're buying a business and real estate. And that's really the whole point of the books that we wrote, is to learn how to mesh the real estate and the business. And anybody that runs a business will tell you that the business may make money, but it does not, you don't get to keep it all. There's a big difference, vast difference between gross and net. A cabin may gross $56,000 a year, but if it nets $6,000 a year, you're doing pretty good. Because there's a lot of things that you have to pay for. You have to pay for the cleaning, you have to pay for the upgrades, you have to pay for the updates, you have to pay for, and there's a whole, just read the book, the Smoky Mountain Cabin Owner's Manual. It tells you a lot of the stuff that you have to pay for. But that's what we're trying to tell people is this couple ended up, I went up one day to service the property, and I was there with the guys working, and I talked to the owners. They just happened to be leaving. They'd been there on vacation for a couple weeks, and they told me they were putting the house on the market and they were going to sell it. And I said, but why? You love this cabin. And they said, yes, we do, but it's just not making the kind of money that we want it to make. And I tried to talk them into letting me sit down and tell them how the cabins do actually make money. And we'll talk about that in another video. Cabins make money in 4 different ways. You have to know the 4 different ways that cabins make money so that you can see where the money goes. But this poor lady just came out and she told me how she was just heartbroken. She just absolutely was brokenhearted about selling the cabin because she loved the cabin. She loved the area. She loved being there. But she just couldn't justify keeping it. I told her about the book that I had written, the Smoky Mountain Cabin Owner's Manual, and I talked about to her, I told her, actually I had just written it, and I told her, I said, let me give you a copy. So I sent her an email copy of the book. She called me on her drive back home, and she said, John, I should have read this book 2 years ago. Because if I did, I would not be selling my cabin today. But we've already started the process. Really what it comes down to was she was already brokenhearted. She had had all she wanted to take of it, and she was done, and she was basically washing her hands and being done with the whole thing. And I could hear the sadness in her voice, and I could hear, her husband was talking about how, well, maybe we could make it work. And she said, I'm already done with it. I've already made the decision. We're already done with it. And he agreed that, both of them were in agreement. They had decided they were done with it. But that's the importance of the book, the Smoky Mountain Cabin Owner's Manual, is we want to sell people. We're not trying to, we want to sell people on ideas. We don't want to sell books, okay? Yes, we do make money selling books, but that's not the whole point. The point is that we're trying to sell you the ideas in the book so that you understand how you can end up, after 2 years, not hating your cabin and feeling like it's a cheating spouse. Because that's what lots of people feel like. They don't understand what they're getting into in the first part of it, and because of that, they feel like the cabin has cheated on them. But it hasn't. Okay, you can make lots of money with cabins, and cabins make ridiculous amounts of money, especially compared to, their other residential counterparts, and they're way cheaper to get into than buying commercial property. So they're a great mix. They're something that everybody should at least consider. You just need to know what you're considering. So to finish the story, the lady had called me on the way home, and she said, John, I wish I'd read this book. I will tell everybody that I know that owns a cabin to buy your book, because this is something that is revolutionary for the cabin industry, and it is something that will help a great deal. And I want you to know that I'm behind it 100%, not only because I know you, talking about me, and we know what your business does, and we know what your company does, and we know that you do a good job, and we know that you actually are here to help. But she said also because this goes so much deeper, and I feel like that's something we've had a hard time getting across, is people don't feel the emotional side of what we're trying to do, that heart-wrenching, heart-tugging that makes you want to buy the cabin because it's so, well, it pulls on your heartstrings. And that's what cabins do. They pull on your heartstrings. And so you get emotionally attached to this thing, and you want to use it, and you want to have it, and you want to take advantage of it, and you see all the advantages that it could be there. But then just like with anything else, there are things that you have to understand before you can be successful in it. And that's what the book, the Smoky Mountain Cabin Owner's Manual, especially 2.0, and the newest book, The Business of Owning a Rental Cabin, that's what those are for. Those are to help you understand. They're very short books, but more than that, the Smoky Mountain Cabin Owner's Manual was originally 400 pages long, and I cut it down to where now it was only, I think now it's 70 some odd pages long. I can't remember exactly the last time we updated it. But guys, it's not about the book. It's a huge amount of ideas that are crammed into a tiny little space. And that's what these videos are trying to convey is we want you to be successful. I want you to buy a cabin, to whenever something happens and you feel like, something that other people would look at and go, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous, we're getting out of it. If you understand what's going on, you'll be able to sit there and go, oh, that's no big deal. We've got that covered. We know exactly how to take care of that. And if you don't, you've got us. We know how to take care of that, and we can help you with it. And so we're trying to sell more than just books. We're trying to sell you on the idea of this is possible, and you can make some pretty crazy money out of it. I talked to a guy yesterday. We're looking at listing his cabins. He built the cabins in 2005, back during the bubble that was going up, and paid a ridiculous amount of money for the property. I mean, literally a ridiculous amount of money for the property. Now the cabin, he's got 5 of them. If he sold the one cabin off of it, the largest cabin, and he could keep 4, it would pay off the other 4. That's crazy. That is crazy that things appreciate that fast and that they rent that well and that they can make enough money and they can generate enough income. You just have to understand how to run it as a business. And we talk about that in other videos, and you can look at the business of owning a rental cabin, and we'll go into that specifically in other ones, but other videos. But good grief, guys, it is a tremendous amount of information. There is a tremendous amount of potential here. You just have to understand it. And I don't want you to be like that wonderful couple that sold their house and were so sad driving back home, telling me, I wish I had read this book. Don't do that. Read the book. Let us help you. And that way, whenever rough times come, you're okay. You've got it covered. It's no big deal. It's something that you understand how to get out of, and you're not already heartbroken. Because once you're already heartbroken, it's very hard to continue with something. So don't let it get to the point where it weighs you down. Buy the books, contact us, talk to us, let us tell you how we can help before things get crazy. And I see so many people that think they've got it covered, and oh, they're so smart because they've done real estate deals 100 times and they've got this covered, and who do I think I am? I'm a little hillbilly that wrote a book, and I am. I'm a hillbilly that wrote a book. Was born and raised here. I'm nothing special. I've just had my butt kicked hundreds of times, and I've been able to stay standing. And that's about all I got to say. Is that's our claim to fame, is I've had my butt kicked and I'm still standing. So I can help you learn how to stay standing and keep from getting your butt handed to you. So at any rate, this is John, author of the Cabin Owner's Manual, author of The Business of Owning a Rental Cabin. Check us out. You can go to the website, cardinalcustomlawn.com. That is our property maintenance website, and you can actually buy the books on that website. They're on the Apple Bookstore. And I'm a realtor. I work with Marty Loveday and Associates. You can check out that website. It's martyloveday.com. It's the largest independent website in the Smokies. And guys, we've got you covered. We just want to tell you that we've got you covered and we want to help. So check out martyloveday.com. Check out cardinalcustomlawn.com. And let's get moving on this, and let's get you guys set in some cabins and making some money. Until next time, have a good day.